because I find Reagan's government's antics with Oliver Stone and Peter Gabriel highly suspicious. I do have to admit that Gorbachev's birthmark and Salman Rushdie appear together in a cosmic conjunction from the Gurdjieff Society concerning the AIDS fiasco. And people will mouge on me coming out going, "Oh, Alexander Dugin is my enemy." He's not my enemy. Okay. I see him as a Duquesne professor. I have had problems with parochials. Now I'm going to put all of that aside because I have never studied him. I wish to study him, but I can't accept the publishers that he is using as anything other than conscripting me to believe that the concept behind these fiendish attacks was rational. Parochial cleanse, sexual purity. I don't want to associate him with that. But if he is associated with that, he has a lot of company. It's not like he's the odd man out. And I don't want to put him in any classification system other than the classification system that puts so many people who say, I don't care about Gail Berson's letters, like Ralph Proctor, who I worked with closely as a mentor. My own family have said, I don't care about those letters. I care. I can't understand how people don't care. But if if being used as a magnet for my views because he's Russian, that polarizes things, that's pretty heavy. So rather than go that road, I just want to say he's in good company with Al Gore, with Barack Obama, and all of the other people who have pled gross immunity from cooperating with the Fandango. Now, they claim that it was a rigmarole that wrapped around the Fandango, that there was a strange, phony intercept. And they intercepted everything. And Noam Chomsky comes laser up a thing in, fully intuiting the whole thing, which amounts to a crystal ball against campus sex. Okay, so let's draw the boogie monster. Okay, let's not have this terrorism towards fine, respectable human being because the questions are unanswered. I'm not accusing anybody there. Okay, they're unanswered questions. I have an old saying from Ayn Rand when it comes to avoidance of people I admire. I don't hide that I admire Alexander Dick. He's spot on about some of the things I've heard him say. I don't want to cause him any pain. It was obviously some sort of practical horror show that went on with the unforgivable crime against his. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Deep breath. What I want to discuss is the claim that sexual misconduct was involved in me. I'm not in the military. I was raised and taken to see her when I was 10 years old over the objections of the mayor by an adult. And then I was brutally tortured and rendered semi-conscious so that the police could put together a war game based on their own police science in a shanty and hold me in neurohypnosis. This was an Attica State Prison Authority working with some people from Soviet Jewry. So there may be a Russian connection in this whole thing. So I'm accusing an international consortium of people who, with bad blood towards someone like me, who they claim is sexually licentious. Now I'm going to talk to my peers for a minute. Just hold up. They say, why should we not make out under the stairs of the community college if you get to? Try to put into perspective a few things. I talked to a sergeant from the police department I said the reason I was able to get in so deep was because I kept telling myself this can't be real. But it was obvious that there was a lurid spy master clucking their tongue and wiggling their finger while setting up sexual assassination. And there was no way I could get my hands on any evidence without playing into it. I was working for Hypatia's feminist philosophy journal for a while and the Bar Harbor Times. So when these girls came on to me, I had to get involved with them in order to, I'm not trying to raise my mystique as a desirable partner, but as Ray Geiger said, when I asked him if he was making love to one of my exes, that's what boyfriends and girlfriends do, Jimmy. He was very placating. I think that we have a certain level of maturity. We're all adults, we're all grown ups. Boys and girls do mate when they're in love. Okay, so I did my best to express my fraternity with these women and get involved with them to find out what gives. And I managed to trip up Will Zell into providing an affidavit showing that he was planning this thing. And Greg Cole also said the persona is subjected to successive degradations of the X motive, subjected to subjected. Okay, that's the key word because there's this phantom club going on in the background, doing the subjecting. They're telling me don't investigate when a genocide is involved. Oh, wait a minute. So they're saying sexual misconduct is actually snitching on the police state, right? Oh boy, there it gets good. And my peers go along with this because of some storyline about John Lennon that's going on in the background. Wait a minute. John Lennon was the leader of the sexual revolution. I thought, well, don't be too fast here. They asked, why did you get involved with the hottie? Well, the hottie was a girl I was in love with. I didn't know she was a virgin. I was suspicious when I saw that. But I still had an unanswered question. Why is Peter Gabriel covering for this apparatus? Is he involved? And there's this stuff about trust and suspicions in relationships, right? Well, I said, well, some basic, like the Northeast director of Amnesty International was calling my father a hero. And he was involved with Amnesty International. Surely there's some sort of trustworthy social support system aware that this is happening that I need to stay in contact with. So I allowed myself to believe that this assassin actually loved me. I was never out to assassinate any of the people who I got involved with consensually. This woman was out to assassinate me. She was a La Femme Nikita. She was out to just detonate a neuro trigger and blow me off the face of the planet. Now, this is the wriggling figure mode full detonation. And the stupids in Seattle actually went along with this to the point where they're threatening their own children with a nuclear attack. This is the kind of insane asylum they have at the University of Washington. It's an insane asylum. And you ask me, do I care if you make out under the steps? What are the steps? A bomb shelter? I'm not particularly keen on seeing students make out in the halls, but as long as they show up for class, I'm not going to get in their face about it if it's consensual. Well, look, I'm tired of this idiocy. Okay, the only way to get information and evidence was to investigate. That was the only way to do it. And you could say, laugh and go, oh, he was investigating by sleeping with girls. There was more to it than that. But that's what boys and girls do together sometimes. And if you can't deal with that, you need a psychologist of some sort. And if you're turning it into World War III because you can't bear the thought that other people have love affairs, then you're some sort of creation from the Skarjev clique. I had to overcome things like that myself. And they say, well, we want you to represent. Wait a minute. You're talking about a death sentence against an innocent person in a public institution because you get off on it? That's Cornell West spinner beanie at work. It's outrageous. Now, in defense of my stand about AIDS, I tried to warn people. I figured if people were warned, they would be more careful and it would save lives. They didn't want to do that. They said the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. They said one size fits all. They slash and murdered a girl over a penny, and they don't want anybody talking about it. I went up into the Green Party district and I found free Nelson Mandela and Noah in cement, meaning Nelson Mandela was still in prison. And they're putting Noah in the cement. The Green Party district. And I asked the baristas there. It's in my article, Barista Gate, and Story Checks Outward. I said, did you know that the stranger has been sitting on a story that shows that AIDS was an attack? And they said no. And they made a mockery of the story. And then they poisoned me in the mouth and released COVID. Nutbags. Seattle is in the extreme unhinged stages of dementia. And they've been doing this because Tony Lynn is berserk with Gurdjieff weird ideas that he feeds into the victims to justify himself and the horrible baton twirling of Hollywood, Pentagon, Disney, and the other evil idiots who have gone along with the whole thing. We're stuck with it. It's part of our past. It's part of our history. But I want you off my case. You've already tortured me.